Hello, everyone. Just making sure that I can go live everywhere. Having some trouble with getting Instagram up and running. I think there we go. Okay, awesome. Now we got Instagram going as well. Hello, everyone. I am Coach Stefanie. I am filling in for the Conways today. They are having a little bit of a scheduling conflict, so they asked me to step in for them today. As you might be able to hear by my voice, I am super sick, so please excuse me sounding somewhat like nasally or weird. Also, I'm going to occasionally be checking my phone because it's really hard to keep track of Instagram comments through the actual Instagram app, and I want to make sure that I don't miss anybody's comments. Hello, Joy. Welcome. And I can see myself on Instagram. Okay, perfect. Well, let's actually put that over here. Okay. Also, quick disclaimer. Thank you so much, Vicky. I feel like it's going around. A lot of our members have been complaining about being sick. So it's, just that time of the year. And we actually did a meeting topic. Last week, I was filling in for one of the other coaches who also lost her voice because she was sick. And so I did an impromptu meeting on how to navigate your journey while you are sick, because I felt like that was a worthwhile topic. A little disclaimer, my wine glass over here that I'm going to be sipping out of during our meeting is full of Diet Dr. Pepper. I watched this really cool TikTok where somebody asked about the corporate girlies tips and tricks for making it through the day. And one of the commenters there said that every day at 3 p.m., she likes to pour herself a Diet Coke in a wine glass to, just really enjoy her drink and make it more fun. And so I've adopted this because I'm trying to get off of the soda. And so I now drink about 1 can of my Diet Dr. Pepper a day. And by making it more special and drinking it in this fun wine glass, I feel like it makes it more fun and more special, and makes it a little bit easier to just have one soda instead of just mindlessly sipping on it. I'd rather mindlessly sip on water, right? It is a Halloween glass, so as we're going, you will be able to see more ghosts. Okay. We're about 2 minutes after the start time. That's when I like to really start diving into the topic. And today we're going to be talking about holiday boundaries and how to navigate other people around this time of the year. Because during the holidays, we tend to meet other people and be around lots of people that we may not have seen in a while. And a lot of people come with a lot of opinions about our journey. And some of those are great, and some of these might not be as helpful for us. So I think it's really important to not only spend time before a holiday get together thinking about what I'm going to eat, but also how I'm going to approach other people on my journey. Is there, a group of people that I want to share my plans with so that they can help hold me accountable? And then is there a group of people where I might not feel quite as comfortable sharing my journey with them, or leading with my journey, so to say, because people tend to have lots of opinion and lots of helpful tips, and they think that they're helping, but might actually end up hurting you in your journey and making it harder to stick to your plan of what you were planning to eat. So that's why I think it's really important to also take other people into consideration and kind of think about how they might react. So let's talk about finding real support first. Support is one of the pillars of our journey. It makes it so much easier to stick to this plan if you have people that you can share with, if you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, especially if you're down on yourself or you're struggling. Having others that you can turn to that understand your journey and can be your cheerleaders is really, really powerful. And that's why I'm one of the meeting coaches here, and I am a big believer in doing the meetings and joining them, and the importance of that. And the same is true for holiday get togethers. There might be somebody in the holiday get together that you feel like can be your cheerleader during this situation and that you want to share your plan with. Hi, Lydia. And finding those people can be really great because they can be your safe zone. You can trust them with your goal. They will listen, they will cheer you on, and they will help create an environment where you can succeed. Unlike those people who, might not necessarily understand your journey quite as well. So your real, good supporters, they're the people who, if somebody makes it hard, tries to push something on you that you don't want, they will step in, they will distract you, those kinds of people. Then you also always have, some of the like more neutral people that aren't necessarily really deeply involved in your journey, but they aren't necessarily an obstacle either. You don't have to like explain everything that you're doing to them, but they'll just leave you alone, right? They understand that this is your journey, you need to make your decisions, and whether they agree or don't agree, they'll just, let you kind of do your thing. And then the people that you really need to be careful of are those who are full of opinions. And most of the time that those opinions come from love and they're trying to be helpful and supportive. And that might be Aunt Sally who did Weight Watchers, 50 years ago and feels like she understands the concept. Or that might be cousin Billy who's a bodybuilder and who's like, well, I know how to, gain muscle and lose weight. And once you tell them about your journey, they're very likely to flood you with what they think are helpful suggestions. They might be like, oh, you can't have this. They might tell you, oh, this is not, those are not good macros, even though you've planned in for them. Hi, Jody Lynn. Chris and Courtney are just taking a break for today, and so I'm covering for them, but they will be back next week. So be really careful kind of what you share in advance with them and how you phrase things around them. Another person that you might encounter is the aunt who feels like, it's a holiday. It just happens once a year. Have an extra slice of cake. It's not going to hurt you. When you might have already made the decision that the slice of pie is not what you want, but an extra helping of mashed potatoes or mac and cheese casserole that you're only getting once a year is what you're wanting more of. So, when we go into the holidays, most of us kind of go in with a plan of what is worth it for us to eat and what is not worth it for us to spend our calories and bites on. And then it's really hard when you have these well-meaning people come in and make suggestions and tell you that, oh, but you shouldn't have this and you should have more of that, or just have a slice of pie. It's Christmas. You can abandon your diet for this one day, even though most of us already go into the holidays with the thought process of, these are the things that are worth it to me. This is what I really want to splurge on. And this is what, isn't really all that good. And kind of avoiding this outside chatter and all of these opinions can make it a lot easier for you to stick to your plan. So personally, I always prefer to approach the holidays by not telling anybody that I am actively trying to lose weight. I mean, at this point in my life, of course, a lot of people do know that I am a weight loss coach, and there's no real hiding it from them anymore. But when I first started and I was really, digging deep and trying to learn all of the ins and outs and lose the weight, I always went to these family get-togethers without telling anybody of my journey. I'd rather let my progress speak for me. And if somebody comes up and is like, hey, I can tell you look much happier, you look healthier, have you lost weight, what are you doing? Then I'm happy to share with them. But I don't necessarily start off my conversations or my arrival there by telling people that I'm trying to lose weight. Jody said she'll take extra mac and cheese over pie and cake and cookies any day. Yep. And that is totally fine. But if you then, do that and you have somebody else who's like pushing the cake and the pie on you because that's what they would splurge on, that makes it really hard to say no to it. And I've also found if you don't tell people that you're trying to lose weight, they accept you saying, oh, no, thank you. I'm full. Maybe I'll have some later. It's not a topic of discussion if anybody says, oh, I'm just full. I don't feel like having any more right now, maybe later. But if you tell them that you're trying to lose weight, suddenly that becomes an argument for whatever reason. They're like, oh, just have a couple pieces more. It's just, once a year. And they're right. It's just once a year, but still you want to feel good afterwards. I think one of my this year's biggest gratitudes about Thanksgiving is that we've had so many members that after their Thanksgiving get-togethers shared that they might have gone over bites, but ultimately they felt really good about the decisions that they've made. They felt comfortable after the meal. They weren't overstuffed. Everybody around them might have felt really overstuffed and like they were about to be sick because they ate so much. But a lot of our members that I talked to were like, no, I was happy. I enjoyed my food. I enjoyed the company, but I didn't overeat. And that's really the goal that I think we should have with the holidays. Yes, if you want to be super strict and say, I'm going to stick to my bites and I'm going to be really rigorous throughout the holidays, you can totally do that. But I personally prefer to approach the holidays with a mindset of, I'm going to splurge a little bit more. I might go over my bites a little bit more, but that's okay as long as I'm still making good decisions and as long as I'm going in with a plan and then sticking to said plan. Vicky said she loved how one member had said, oh my goodness, that looks so good, but I am so full. Could I take a piece home? Yeah, that's another really great way to approach that to, just take something home if you don't necessarily have the space in your bites for that day. You can take it home and have it another day. Okay. So now, what are you going to do if you get into a situation where, best laid plans, somebody is still kind of like, trying to push you into those extra food items that you might not have planned to? First off, remember that saying no is not rude. Saying no is self-respect. This is your journey. This is your body. And ultimately, it is more important how you feel about your decision than how anybody else in your family feels about what you ate. If they want to spend the next 3 months gossiping about the fact that you live such a sad life because you couldn't even have Aunt May's pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, let them. It's not your problem. As long as you yourself are happy about the decisions that you have made, that's much more important than what other people are thinking about a journey that they're, quite frankly, not actually a part of. So remember that saying no is self-care, is self-respecting yourself. And it's not no to clearly state your boundaries and stick to them. Some of the things that you might be able to say around food is no, thank you. I'm full right now. I also always really like kind of trying the delay tactic, saying something like, oh, I'm full right now. I might try some of it later. And then removing myself from the area of the gathering where there's food and instead talking to people, playing games, enjoying myself, and, passing the time that way instead of staying around where the food is, because then you're much more likely going to be asked more about like eating more food. So saying, no, I'm full right now, maybe later, and then just moving on, having conversations, distracting yourself can also be a really great technique for yourself to stay on track while you're not surrounded by all this food. Also, you can say, that looks delicious, but I'm choosing differently today. I think that's a really, really powerful one, and kind of shows that you have made a plan, that you are weighing your options and making decisions on what will serve you best in the long run. Or just a very simple, I'm good, but thank you for offering. Especially if it's a new a dessert or a new food item, you might not necessarily want to spend your bites on it anyways. Let other people be the guinea pigs and try the food. And if it's really good and everybody raves about it, you can always come back next year and maybe try it next year, because if it was really good, they're likely going to bring it back again. And if not, you won't even know what you missed. So that's kind of how I think about it, especially if somebody like kind of brings something new. I watch a lot of TikTok, and I have really leaned into the whole you can't eat at everybody's house with some of these like cooking tips, and keeping that in mind kind of helps makes it a little bit easier to say no to some people's cooking without feeling bad about it, because I don't know how clean your kitchen is. I don't know what you're putting together there. Now, let's take a little bit of time to talk about people who don't necessarily understand your time boundaries. So, I feel like this time of the year, and we've talked about this in meetings, we ultimately end up getting asked to do too much, and then it becomes too overwhelming. And there's such a thing as decision fatigue. If you make too many decisions throughout a day, chances are that by the end of the day, you make less ideal choices. And that's why pre planning can be so powerful. If you already have your dinner plans ready to go, if you maybe even have your dinner ready to go, it's a lot easier to stick to said dinner than having to think about, like, what ingredients do I have? What can I make with that? How long is it going to take? What time is it now? So when I'm finally going to be able to eat, instead of doing all of these things, it's so much more tempting to just, go through the drive-through and pick up something there. And while that's not, horrible, it's probably not something that you want to incorporate into your diet every single day. My apologies. So, decision fatigue is a thing, and especially this time of the year, we want to make sure that we protect our mental space and don't overtax ourselves. And I know it's really, really hard telling people, no, I don't have time to commit to this. No, I can't go to this or to that or whatever. Because we want to be around the people that we love. We want to make this time of the year magical and make the most out of it. But honestly, there's a lot of things that if you haven't seen these people all year, maybe you don't need to make it such a big deal to see them at Christmas time, holiday time, whatever you're celebrating, because chances are that they didn't necessarily make the time for you earlier in the year either, unless, of course, they're just traveling, and then it's a different situation. But it's okay to say no to people that are wanting you to like do something or commit to something that you do not have the bandwidth to. Again, self-respect is our highest good and is one of the most important things that we need to take seriously. Even if you don't want to disappoint people, you might come across as like selfish or unkind, but I feel like if you explain it to them and you really are honest about the fact that it will not fit into your plan, you have too much other things going on, I think most people will understand. So, how can you say no with confidence? The really, really hard stuff, right? First off, take a moment to pause before you promise anything. It's really easy for somebody to ask us something and us immediately say yes to it. And that's where most people get us. Like, we don't even take the time to think about, can I commit to baking 100 cakes for a nursing home, right? We're just saying, oh, of course I want to bake something for a nursing home. There's also a really well-known sales strategy called the foot in the door strategy, where people actually start off by asking you something small and then slowly escalate the ask. So they might start off by saying, hey, would you be able to help with the holiday celebration for the nursing home this year? And you might say, yeah, I can probably do that. And then they're like, hey, could you bake a couple of cakes for it? And you're probably like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then suddenly they're slapping you with, hey, can you make 100, 200, whatever cakes for said nursing home? And you're like, whoa. But because of the way that they're staggering it, you kind of get into a routine of just saying, yeah, I can do that, whatever, without really taking a moment to think about it. So it's really one of the best ways to stop yourself from overextending yourself is to take a moment to think about it. And you can even defer the decision and say something like, let me check my schedule and get back to you. Or I need a little bit of time to think about how that's going to fit into my schedule. Instead of saying yes right away, try to find a way to kind of push it off so that you can really look at your schedule and figure out, is this something that is going to fit into your schedule? Next up, say no without apologizing. Many people instinctively apologize when they have to decline something, but apologies can imply that you're doing something wrong, and you're not. You're just putting yourself before any other commitments. So instead, say something like, thank you for thinking of me, but I won't be able to do that this year. Or I'm not available that day, but I hope it's a wonderful event. You're still being polite. You're still saying, thank you for thinking of me, which kind of softens the blow of saying no and makes it feel less harsh, but gets your point across of this is not something that you want to commit to this time. Next up, try to use a soft no and the soft no and warmth formula. This approach is kind but firm. So the formula goes like this. You say no, then you optionally can give a short explanation, and then you add some warmth. So some examples for that are, we're keeping things simple this year, so we won't be attending, but we appreciate the invite. We appreciate the invite kind of like adds this warmth, helps with this relationship aspect. Because sometimes we feel like we are going to hurt our relationships with people if we're saying no, right? Another one is, I can't commit to that right now, but I hope it goes great. This can help reduce tension while also honoring your boundaries. And like I said, helping with that relationship element. It's not just a, no, I can't do this, I won't do this. It's more of a, not for me right now, but I hope you have a great time. I really appreciate you thinking of me, sprinkling in some of this like warmth into it can really soften the blow here. And next up, let your values make the decision. When you know what matters most to you, like your health, your family time, it becomes easier to say no to things that don't necessarily align. So anytime somebody asks you about doing something, think about whether this will help you or hurt you in your, mindset, your peace. And then think about whether this will support your goals or just drain your energy. In our weight loss journey, we always talk about the importance of our why. And that is not only true for our weight loss journey, but life in general. It is really important for you to know your values, what is important for you, and what you want to spend your time on. And once you have really dialed that down, it becomes a lot easier to say no to the things that don't serve you and yes to the things that are important to you. Next up, use the reduction strategy. If a full no might feel too hard, you can say yes, but less. In my day job, that's something that we use a lot. We use the yes and. So instead of completely disagreeing with somebody, you're kind of redirecting it where it feels a little bit more comfortable for you. So an example for this would be, I can stop by for an hour, but I won't be staying for the whole event. I can bring a store-bought item, but I won't be cooking this year. I can help, but only with one task, not the whole thing. That way, you're not outright saying that you're not going to be helping, but you're also setting boundaries of what is realistic for you. Wiki put it into the comments. She said this year she's cutting back on all the foods that she makes for dinner. And I think this is a perfect example of this. You might say, yes, I am going to bring, my dish that I'm well known for, but I'm not going to be hosting the whole event. That's one of the things that we worked really hard with my husband's grandmother on. She used to be the one who always hosted everybody for the holidays, but now she's gotten older. She can't really get around that much anymore. And even though she would probably love to be in the kitchen all day, because this is what she's been doing for the majority of her life, she just does not have the energy anymore to do everything. So instead, we have started moving our get-togethers to some of the younger family members' houses, and they invite her over earlier on in the day and help her prepare some of those dishes that, are iconic or traditionally the things that she would have brought. Those special things that others might not have recipes for. You can do something similar by just saying, I know you love my fudge, so I'm going to be bringing fudge to this get together, but I'm not also going to be making mashed potatoes and rolls from scratch. I can make mashed potatoes from the package and I can buy some rolls at the store. You can still commit to it, but you're not overwhelming your Thanksgiving. For our family Thanksgiving, crazy me was like, I'm bringing mashed potatoes and rolls. Why don't I make rolls from scratch and mashed potatoes from scratch? So I spent all day in the kitchen trying to get everything ready and hot and at the right time before we had to leave. And it was super chaotic. I still enjoyed it because I love cooking, but if I would have to do this like for 3 different get-togethers, I probably wouldn't be putting all that effort into it. And lastly, think of scripts and things that you can say ahead of time. Thinking on your feet can be really, really hard when somebody is like, hey, can you do this or that? That's why we're having this conversation now, is so that you can think about, what do people generally ask you for? What do you want to commit to? And anything that comes in extra, you can be ready to say no to. So think of some scripts to have ready so you're not flustered when somebody asks you, but instead you can calmly and confidently respond and let them know that this is not going to be working for you. So some of the things you can say time-bound wise. My December is fully booked, so I need to decline. I'm saying no to extra commitments this season to protect my health and time. Or I don't have the capacity for that, but thank you for asking. Family pressured. I won't be able to stay that long. We're keeping our schedule light this year, and that doesn't work for us, but we hope you enjoy. And then if it's something that has to do with your workplace, feel free to use one of these. I can't take on more this week, but I can revisit next month. Or my schedule is maxed out, so I'll need to pass. Practicing with your family is a really great way to kind of get into the habit of like nicely saying no, so that when these commitments come in at work, it feels a little bit easier to set those boundaries and to be able to say, no, I cannot commit to something and complete a task to the, requirements that it should be, because I am overtaxed right now myself. And I think that's something that many of us need to learn, both in our private life and our work life. So starting with your work life commitments, I think, is a really great way to practice that. And also remember, you do not have to justify or explain, defend, or overshare why you cannot do something. No is a full sentence. You do not owe people an explanation of why you cannot do something. Yeah, it's nice to sometimes give a little bit of extra reasoning. And if you feel comfortable to share an extra reasoning, you can do that. But don't feel pressured into telling people all of the reasons why you can't do it. No is a full sentence. Don't stress yourself over it, over like having to give justifications or reasonings, because then again, you're not putting yourself first if you're then stressing for the rest of the month about having said no to something. And yeah, this is really everything that I wanted to talk to you about. Again, think about your holiday plan in terms of people who will be able to support you, who doesn't need all of the details on your weight loss journey, where do you need to set boundaries, and when do you need to say no. For your holiday piece this year, I recommend picking one or two events that truly matter to you. You don't need to go to everything, just pick the things that are really special to you. Say no to the things that drain you. Kind of think about past years, what was a lot of fun, and what are some of the things where you go just because you go every year, but really it's just draining and not a lot of fun. Take time to build in breaks and quiet time. December should be a time of reflection, of thinking about yourself and the past year. So make sure that you leave time for that and you're not rushing all over the place without having any time for yourself. And as always, prioritize your meals, your hydration, and your rest. Listen to your body and what your body needs, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's why it is important for you to say no to other people. And lastly, I want to leave you with the reminder that your journey does not pause for the holidays, but it is okay to adapt your approach. Think of small things that you can continue doing for your journey without overtaxing yourself. You can say no. You can choose you, because you are in control of your choices. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming. I feel like these 30 minutes always go by really quickly, even though I was a little bit worried today with being sick. Thank you for joining. I didn't see any comments or questions that I missed in the comments, but if there's anything else that you would like me to answer, please feel free to pop it into the questions even afterwards. I'm happy to answer questions later. If you're looking for more support, I have to kind of give you guys a little bit of a plug, because I am the meeting leader, the meeting coach, and I love our meetings and I love our little community. So if you're somebody who is looking for maybe a little bit of extra support, some people to share the journey with and talk through some of these things, check out our member meetings on the Healthy Facebook page. You can subscribe to them, and then you will be able to join a Facebook group where we have a lot of fun posts. We have some challenges, and where you get access to the meetings as well. It's $5 a month plus tax, depending on where you are. So it's not crazy expensive. Okay, thank you, everybody, so much. I hope you have a great holiday season, and I hope these tips will help you have an even better holiday.